God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program. This is the video that should have went up yesterday. And the reason, there's a long story why it didn't go up yesterday. Suffice it to say, if I never have to eat 2 meals in the same airport on the same day ever again, it will be too soon. Yes, I was in an airport concourse, the same airport concourse, for 11 hours yesterday, and it was not a fun time. Oh, when I finally got back, or when I finally got to my destination, I went straight to bed. There was nothing else to do. I had originally planned on recording this video when I arrived at my destination after traveling yesterday, and then there was a delay, and that delay that 1 hour delay turned into, okay, Drudge, you're not going to be able to do this the whole time. That 1 hour delay turned into how long would it have been? You know what? We're getting caught up in the weeds talking about why this video didn't go up yesterday. This video should have went up yesterday, and it didn't, and I blame the airline that I was flying. Anyhow, this has been this was the front story, the top headline, the cover picture for Drudge Report all day yesterday, and I would refresh the page, but it would ruin the effect of the video. Anyway, apparently they're still talking about what to do about the kids at the border. And we've already hashed this and rehashed this and rehashed this about what to do with these kids, about whether or not these kids are deserving of citizenship status, about whether or not it's right to detain the kids or to deport the kids, or whatever we should do. We've talked about where this policy started, and what it's really made its way all the way back around to is a necessity to talk about the real motivation for the left, the media, and specifically the Democrats on this issue. You know, we could talk about their desire to dilute the American population with foreigners, to dilute the American identity. You know, we're talking about conferring rights to individuals that are not citizens of the United States. We're talking about conferring constitutional rights to non-citizens of the United States. That is all about diluting the American identity. No, not the white identity, the American identity. That's part of the reason. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, it's all about the votes for these Democrats. It's not about solving the problem. It's never been about solving the problem. It's about how do we keep people voting for Democrats for the rest of their lives. There's a saying that goes, you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and he will eat the rest of his life. But I have a new take on that saying for this, for the attitude that Democrats seem to have when it comes to solving problems. Teach a man to fish, and he will never thank you for it for the rest of his life. Give a man a fish, and he will vote Democrat for the rest of his life. The objective of much of the Democrats' policy seems to be securing the most votes for the longest period of time possible. After all, why else would Obamacare have done the exact opposite of what Obama promised over and over to us that it was going to do? Obama said that families were going to save $2,500 per year. That's like a Trump level overselling of something. Now, I don't have to buy a family insurance plan, health insurance plan, but I can't imagine that they would cost more than $3,000 a year. Maybe they do. I don't know. But that's a Trump level overselling of your policy. That's a great thing. If your policy had saved families near $2,500 a year, they would have loved you for it. He said you'll get to keep your doctor. He said you'll get to keep your plan. He said that your plan that you have right now, you can keep, and it's going to get cheaper. What happened? Instead, what happened? I don't know about the whole you can keep your doctor thing. I've always thought it strange the way that doctors' relationship with insurance works. I don't fully understand it, but nobody got to keep their plan because the uninsured, the voluntarily uninsured had a plan. And that was no plan. They didn't get to keep their plan because they were now compelled to buy a plan. The insured did not get to keep their plan because there were individuals who were, according to the White House, underinsured, and they didn't get to keep their plan. They had to buy a bigger plan. And those plans were not cheap. They were not cheaper than the plans that they had before. The people that had plans that they did get to keep, their prices went up. We've talked about this numerous times. The average increase for health insurance premiums after the implementation of Obamacare in 2015 was 50%. And in some places, it was over 100%. For those of you who don't deal with percents a lot, 50% is half again as much. If you have 2 of something and you gain 50%, then after your gain you have 3. 100% is double. If you have 2 of something after your gain, you now have 4. That's not down $250, $2,500 per year, by the way. That's in fact up. That is not less, that is more. So what was the objective of Obamacare if it was not to do all the things that Obama told us it was going to do? Well, there's a lot of policy in Obamacare that involved handing out money. And what does handing out money do to people? What does giving someone something for free do? Well, first of all, I don't know if there's any studies on this. I wonder if there are any studies that have asked the question, does welfare make a person feel indebted to the government? That would be an interesting question for someone to explore, I think. But in the real world, if someone gives you something for free, they are very often either hoping that you will come back later and buy things from them, as is the case with some chain stores. You know, there's a store in parts of the world where I live called OnQ, and every month or every other month, OnQ will send you a text and offer you a free drink. And I do not doubt that their hopes are that you will come back to their store and buy things from them because they give you free stuff. I wonder if there's a psychological debt component to this measure. But the other thing is, what if somebody were to come in and try to shut down all the OnQs? What if somebody were to come in and say OnQ is no longer allowed to give away free drinks? What do you think a religious observer of the free on-cue drink might do? He might protest. He might become upset. He might work on-cue's behalf to allow them to continue to give away free drinks. And this is what the Democrat plantation does for the Democrat establishment. It's it's almost a reverse. No, it is exactly like a plantation. The Democrats give their constituencies free things, like food and housing and money, for which they can with which they can buy whatever they like. You know, people living on welfare have iPhones. Some of them drive nice cars, and then they go and collect their food stamps. And in return, those people work for the Democrats. How do they work for the Democrats? They vote for the Democrats. They campaign for the Democrats through protesting. They do political activism for Democrats through protesting, through what's the word I'm looking for? Through agitating people at town hall meetings. Sometimes I think they sabotage town hall meetings of regular Americans. They show up and overwhelm the regular Americans at some of those town hall meetings so that it can be reported that the constituencies of the Republicans are unhappy about what Republicans are doing. But anyhow, this immigration issue is not unlike the issues like Obamacare and welfare and food stamps. And for the record, I'm not saying we should fully and immediately terminate welfare and food stamps, but I do think that something needs to be done to change those things. And FYI, nobody in Congress wants to touch those things with a 29.5-foot pole, because you'll get eviscerated by the media and Democrats. It's the easiest evisceration to attack somebody who is trying to change welfare, to say that they're trying to take welfare away, which they're not, but it's an easy sell. This problem with the immigration, what's going on? What is happening? Children, or in some cases young adults, I see some folks on this train that are definitely not children. I see some folks on this train that are probably older than 18. Some of them look like they might be into their 20s, late 20s. I don't see a lot of kids on this train. If you see any, point them out to me. I'm having a hard time picking out one and saying, yeah, that kid is definitely under 10. Most of these guys, first of all, I only see one female so far. These are all men except for the one female that I can see. Maybe there's a second one. This is kind of like playing Where's Waldo with illegal immigrants. But there are none that are definitely under 10. There are a couple. There's a few that might be under 16, but most of these fellows and the two ladies that I can see so far look like they're older than 18, and several of them look like they're older than 25. But the perception is that there's all these kids / families that are coming into the United States of America. The kids are coming in unaccompanied, or the families are dragging their kids across the border illegally with them. and they get detained by ICE. Now, under federal immigration law, you're not allowed to detain children under any circumstances. According to federal immigration law and the federal court system, you're not allowed to detain any illegal immigrant children for longer than 30 days under any circumstances. They must be released to a foster home or a sponsor family or something. They must be settled in a home of some kind. That's federal law on the matter. The adults can be detained until they're deported, and I guess the children can be detained until they're deported if the deportation happens within 30 days. But this is the federal government we're talking about here. Very little, if anything, happens in 30 days. In 30 days or less. So, these kids, some of them come in with their families. Some of them come in alone, and then their families try to come find them later. And the whole chain migration thing works in their favor because their kids have been settled in the United States. But these families bring their kids in kind of underhandedly using their children as a shield in some cases, I think. In most cases, they're probably just trying to stick together. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were some adults that were bringing children across the border in an attempt to get themselves released into the United States of America. Very few people were blaming Obama for separating families at the border. And why was that? Well, it's because the judge said if you're going to detain children, if you're going to detain an entire family, you have to release the children within 30 days. The law says that you only have to release unaccompanied minors within 30 days. But a judge said, no, you have to release all minors within 30 days. So that means that if a family comes in, their children must be released into some kind of home system, but the parents have to stay but the parents can stay in custody. And what the Obama administration did was, instead of saying, okay, we'll send the kids out and detain the parents, is they said, well, we would rather not separate the family, so we'll release the entire family back into the United States of America. You have three options. You detain and deport the entire family, or you release the entire family into the United States of America, or you detain the adults and release the minors. And Obama chose the first option. The Trump administration is choosing the latter two options, the probably deporting the entire family within 30 days whenever they can, but in the vast majority of cases where they probably are not able to do it that fast, they're turning over the children to some kind of foster care. I would assume a lot of it goes to foster care and the rest goes to other family members. What would be a solution to this problem? The problem that everybody in the media has been screaming about is splitting up families, taking children away from their parents and sending them off into the dangerous, racist United States of America. What's the solution to that? Well, we could batten down the hatches, tighten up border security, and prevent people from coming into the United States illegally. That would mean that there would not be detentions of these individuals, and their families wouldn't have to be separated. We could say, we could repeal the rule that says that children have to be released within 30 days. We could write a new law that says children can be detained with ICE indefinitely as long as their parents are also detained, or the adults that they came into the country with are also detained, and that would take it away from the courts. We could do. There's a few things we could do to address this situation, but the Democrats don't want to do any of that. What do they want to do? They want to keep the family intact at all costs, which means allowing them in, which generally means allowing them into the country, because they have proposed no security measures whatsoever. They don't want any security measures. So, what's the alternatives under the Democrat plan? Well, there's only one, and let's let them come in. And why do they want to let them come in? They want to let them come in for one reason is because they want to dilute the American identity. The other reason is Hispanic and Latino immigrants vote overwhelmingly Democrat. I think the split is 70-30. It's not as big as the African American split, but it's pretty big. And the Democrats see these people as voters. That's all they see them as. They see them as votes. If they can get them into the country, then they can get them on the Democrat voting poll, and they can have them vote for Democrats. And it's really easy to scare these people into voting for Democrats as well. If you don't vote Democrat, the Republicans are going to kick you out of the country. You're in the country because of us, and we're the only people that you're in the country because of. So if you don't vote for us, you're going to be kicked out. And there's nothing Republicans can do to take this "you're in the country because of us" line away from the Democrats. We've tried it over and over and over and over again. Reagan was the first president to do amnesty, and he probably genuinely believed that it was going to be the only time we were going to do amnesty, and it was a compassionate thing to do. And then we did amnesty again, and then we did amnesty again, and then we did amnesty again, and every amnesty is bigger than the last. Until we get to this point where there hasn't been an amnesty for a long time. And the longer we go without doing amnesty, this is kind of ironic, the longer we go without doing amnesty, the more the likelihood is that we do amnesty, because there are more and more illegal immigrants coming in every day. And it becomes more and more difficult to deport all of those individuals. So we get people saying, there's no way you can deport as many immigrants as there are in this country. There's no way you can do it. There is a way. It would just take a while. We could do it. It's just a numbers game. If we deport X number of illegal immigrants per day, eventually we will get there. But there is no desire, especially from the Democrats, somewhat from some Republicans, but especially from the Democrats, to do this. Because it's all about the votes. If you kick these people out of the country, you're kicking out our voting bloc. And we need that voting bloc. I wouldn't be surprised if part of the thinking among the Democrats is that we desperately need this voting bloc because of how racist the white voting bloc is. Some Democrats are thinking that. Other Democrats probably just thinking, our coalition of intersectionality doesn't have a big enough footprint yet. So, but in order for us to win, we need to expand that footprint, and the fastest way to do that is to import it. It could be the case that someday the intersectionality voting bloc will be bigger than all of the others, but it's not going to be that way for a long time. So that's not a fast route to power. It's much faster if they can expand that voting base by importing a bunch of new voters. Now, if you're one of those people that thinks that the Democrats really do care about these people, let me ask you, how kind-hearted is it to think of anybody that's coming to the United States as the same person? How kind-hearted is it to think if you're migrating, to use the word of the left, if you're migrating, you're brown? Because that's all. Because when we talk about the immigrant crisis, we talk about it from the standpoint of race. And why couldn't a white person migrate to the United States of America? Why couldn't a black person migrate? Why couldn't an Asian person migrate? Why couldn't a Far Eastern person migrate? Why couldn't a Pacific Islander migrate? The only migrants that these people are talking about are brown, because in Europe they're talking about the Arab migrants who are overwhelmingly brown, and in America we're talking about the Latin American, or we're talking about the Latin migrants who are overwhelmingly brown. When the Democrat says migrant, it might as well be saying brownies, because they don't care about any other migrants. They only care about the ones that are going to vote overwhelmingly Democrat. When they show us pictures, they don't show us pictures of any immigrants or any illegal immigrants besides the brown ones. So I'm running out of time on this video. I think I could just keep ranting. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I do again apologize for the tardiness of this video, but I know that you will understand. Thank you again for watching. I hope that you'll come back next time. Make sure that you check back this evening for the day's report. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. I'll see you soon, and God bless.